Hey guys, welcome back to another blog. Again, we're talking about international dating, but we're applying some of life's larger issues to the topic just to make it a bit more interesting for you. So we like to have these larger topics that are a bit more fun and definitely impactful in our decision to get off the couch and go and meet somebody, right? Anyway, one day, a long time from now, you'll cease to care anymore whom you please or what anybody has to say about you. That's when you'll finally produce the work you're capable of. I read this quote this morning for the first time and immediately thought of the composer Beethoven and his famous and final symphony, the Ninth Symphony. Some of you know what the Ninth Symphony is, some of you have heard it and say, wow, it sounds familiar, I think I've heard that. Well, so here's the story behind the Ninth Symphony, which I think is really interesting. Beethoven lived to be 52 years old. He wrote the Ninth Symphony, a sick and dying man at the age of 51. He was so sick, in fact, when he completed it and performed it live with his orchestra and his chorus in front of an audience in Vienna. He couldn't hear it, obviously. He'd been deaf for 23 years, but he stood in front of this orchestra trying to conduct them because he couldn't hear, he couldn't conduct properly, and so as to not offend the great maestro, somebody had another composer standing behind him, kind of out of the way, out of sight, actually composing the orchestra. And when the performance was over and everybody stood and applauded Beethoven for another masterpiece, Beethoven didn't know anybody behind him was standing and applauding. Somebody had to actually turn him around so he could see the applause, and it just must have been an incredible scene. You know, I got a comment from one of our Facebook followers this week that said, you know, when are people going to have a better opinion and attitude toward this whole international dating thing? Because man, I'm just getting so much flack from the people around me when I mention it, and I know there's more to it than they do, but wow, the feedback is just really, really rough. And of course that made me think about how hard it is for us guys in this experience to be able to share our enthusiasm and our excitement for reaching out and meeting a beautiful life mate with our friends and our coworkers and the people around us in our circle of support. Because you guys know, if you've tried it at all, if you just gather a work buddy and bring them over to the water cooler and mention you're thinking about going on a romance tour, or if you tell your brother or your best friend or anybody, you know, your thoughts around international dating, the kind of response that you're going to get, right? You know, you've done it to some extent, guys. I know you have. Well, you know, I want you guys to understand, I've talked about this before, that cold, steely business word, if you will, that has such an impact on what we do here, and that word is paradigm. And you know, the word paradigm, there's nothing really emotional about it. It's not a warm, fuzzy word, but it's completely critical to your success in this process. And a paradigm is the way that you look at something based on years and years of influence and experience, right? So the people around you have been watching the media tell very, very limited, slanted stories about international dating for years and years and years. From that, they have formed an opinion about so-called mail-order brides, about people from over there. You know, people in Ukraine, they're all poor and desperate and living in mud huts. Why would you go there to find a wife? You'll get scammed, it's a green card thing, etc. They're just trying to get out of their country. And, you know, none of which is true, and you'll realize that when you go with us to meet these women. But that is what the media has told us for years, and that's what people around you believe, at least initially. You have to understand, you change your paradigm. You change inside. Information changes you. Experience changes you, and you move forward and grow in this experience where others stay in their position of very limited experience and exposure to this whole thing. Right now, they're not supposed to learn all about international dating. They're not trying to find a life mate, but you are, and that's why you absorb the information from people who have succeeded, and you've moved forward. And understand that as you move forward, some people won't, and that's just one of the burdens that you're going to bear initially. But you know, like Beethoven and like J.D. Salinger, to some extent, guys, you have to not care what people around you are going to think about your search for a life partner. You have to be able to block all that out and focus on you, the guy in the mirror who deserves to meet somebody for absolutely legitimate reasons, who has lots of love to give and is waiting to receive the love from somebody who wants to give her love as well. You just need to discover each other. You deserve to complete that process for yourself and nobody else. And you know what? At the end of the day, if everything else leaves you, if all those relationships fail you in some way, you will still have her, that beautiful person who completes who you are, whom you can move forward with and live your life with. And that is absolutely a decision you have to make for yourself. Far too many guys talk themselves out of getting off the couch and into a plane on the way to meet somebody because they're worried about what other people will think. But those same other people aren't going to be there for you at night, aren't going to be there for you in your darkest hour, aren't going to be there to lift you up, to cheer you up, to support you, to be never-ending, unfailing support in your life because they deeply, deeply love you. And you deserve that support and that love. Go and listen to a little bit of Beethoven and think very much about how difficult it must have been in his time to complete this symphony under these amazing circumstances. And think about, if one man can do something like that, you know, what are the implications for you doing something like that for you in your life?
Check out our website at... If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Then click on the notice bell to get notified every time we add something new.